everyone. Thank you for joining me again today on my podcast. I hope that you're enjoying the messages, the conversations that are coming in. A lot of this is information that I have accumulated throughout the years, being an entrepreneur myself since the age of 25. I've got a lot of information to share, and I hope it resonates with you. I'm going to invite you to take only what resonates with you, and what doesn't, just kind of set aside. But perhaps it can benefit someone else, so I'm definitely going to encourage you to subscribe and share if it feels called to you. So let's dive in today. We're going to be talking about the intuitive entrepreneur. And why I believe that is such an important topic is because I don't know about you guys, but I have noticed that in the past, I'm going to say past 5 years, but definitely in the last couple of years, the way we do business is different. I know for a lot of you working from home, having more flexibility with work hours, whether you work for somebody or you own your own business or you're establishing a business, I know that the flexibility has been something that a lot of people are really enjoying. And so when we have that much time in our hands, we're looking forward to doing business differently, right? So typically we would, back in the day, only do business in person, or maybe it was a phone call, but the phone call was really more about when can I come by and meet you in person. And so a lot of that with technology has changed. And so we have this opportunity to step into doing business from more of an intuitive standpoint, feeling into the energy, understanding who this person is, feeling whether they are someone that you can trust, somebody that you align with, somebody that you want to do business with. And so bringing in the intuition into business, I can tell you, has been a game changer for all those people that I've been working with and all the businesses and family offices that I have been sharing this information with. So I'm going to invite you, because for me, it was the only way I knew how to do business. Even back in the day, that was my, I guess what made me different is that it wasn't transactional all the time. And what I mean by that is that the transaction was important, closing the deal was important. Of course, meeting those numbers in sales or whatever that was at that time was important, but it wasn't the main idea. It wasn't the main priority. The main priority for me has always been to connect with the individual, has been with not only getting to know who they are and really genuinely being curious and interested in the human, in the person that I am selling to, getting to know them better, recognizing whether it's a good fit for them and for me, because typically when you sell to somebody or when you're doing business with somebody, it's not a one and done, right? Typically you're gonna want repeat business. You've already closed this transaction, you've already made a connection, they like you, you like them. And so typically these transactions would give you repeat business, or at least bring you in other people that they would refer your way. And so when we're only looking at it from the transactional aspect, it's like, okay, I've got to meet these goals. I've got to get these many sales in. I've got to get these many clients closed. It's got to hit my bottom line by so-and-so date. And it being solely about the transaction and not about the person. What I have felt is that typically people who run their businesses that way are not exponentially successful. Right? They're just looking for the next deal, the next transaction. Okay, next. And what I learned for myself was, how could I connect with this person? But more importantly, how could this transaction or doing business with this person or with this company, how is this going to make me feel good? How is this going to help me to feel aligned with myself, right? So I'm not just doing things because I have to, but I'm doing things because there's a level of desire, of camaraderie, of collaboration. And so I'm inviting you all today to start to look at being this intuitive entrepreneur, intuitive business person, and at least give it a try. Listen, you're not going to lose anything by trying, but I wanted to break it down so that you understood exactly what I'm talking about. So when I was in the swimming pool business, for me, it was important. Obviously, we wanted to leverage the business. We wanted to scale it. We wanted to make money, right? There were quite a few families living out of this swimming pool business. That was my dad's originally, that I stepped in as his business partner later on in the days, in a few years after he had started the actual business. And when I stepped in, for me, it wasn't about selling a swimming pool, right? The swimming pool, that's great, right? And think about, swimming pools are a luxury. Although in South Florida, they could feel like a need, but they're typically a luxury, right? People don't purchase or go into that big investment unless they have extra capital, extra cash laying somewhere. So what was important for me was to understand why I was selling swimming pools and why I thought that was a good idea for me to step into the family business with my dad at the time. Of course, I looked at it for the flexibility. I had 2 small children, and so it made sense, right, that I could have more flexibility to be around for my kids, but we still needed to scale this business. We couldn't continue with his 12 pools a year. Typically, that on average was what he was selling, so that we could then step into a business that was selling 20 pools a month, because we ended up working with the big developers in South Florida. And so you can tell, right, just in volume, that it was a big deal to grow the business exponentially. And how I did it, because I was the person selling and going out there and meeting all of these different, whether it was the realtors, whether it was the developers, whether it was the individual clients, whether it was the commercial development, bringing in commercial swimming pools. For me, it was the passion to see something beautiful come out of something that was ugly, right? Because typically when you go to somebody's backyard, when there's not a swimming pool, there could be cement, there could be some grass, there could be some trees, but things look very chaotic, right? Or disorganized. And so for me, what really helped me, and the reason why I'm sharing this is because I brought in that energy and that thought and that consciousness around, well, this is where families are going to gather. This is where people are going to celebrate. So the swimming pool wasn't about the construction aspect of it, which was obviously needed to happen, but it was more the end product, the end result. And so I'm sharing that with you today because that was something that was intuitively called in for me to do it that way, rather than be the regular pool salesperson that was just looking at how many pools can I sell this month. The pools were being sold. I had people selling pools for us because we were putting in swimming pools into every single home in some of these big developments of residential homes. But more importantly, it was about how I was going to help impact this family, this person, this company. And when we come from that place, we're going through our gut, right? It's our gut feeling. It's our gut feeling that having this conversation, selling to this person, just resonates. It feels right. It feels good. I want to bring something special to this individual. And the reason why I think this is so important is because I hear it all the time from people who sell cars, who sell insurance, who sell real estate, people in the sales capacity. When they come to me and they ask me some of these questions, I'm always going to answer in the same way, which is you need to go in with your heart. You need to feel this person out. You need to feel whether this is an aligned process, if this is good for them, it's going to be good for you, so that it's not feeling like you're only out there for their money and for their sales or for them buying something from you, but more from the human aspect. And so going back to the conscious, intuitive entrepreneur, this is how I help clients grow their businesses, step into becoming and being the entrepreneur. and scaling their business is to get out of their head, get out of your mind. This isn't a numbers game. This is a people's game. This is a human game. This is how you connect with people, is that you go in with your heart. You go in with your intuition. How am I going to show this person, right, from transparency and integrity, not lying? How am I going to show this person that I'm truly interested in them and their business? Not only because I want their business this time, but because I want to establish a relationship with this person instead of it being a one and done, so that they can also call me next time that they need me again, or refer their friends and family because they feel, keep going back to the feeling, they feel so comfortable doing business with me, right? With you. And so when you're starting a business and you're only going with, okay, I've got this big vision, I've got this dream, this is how I want to do it, and all of that is great. Remember, that thought came first as a thought, but then you attached an emotion, right? So your heart, right, whether you're aware of it or not, your emotions are now going into this business idea, into this project, into how you want to scale this business. But there's also the part of how you're going to impact the people that you sell to, or the people that you bring in, whether you're looking to fund, to raise money for a fund, whether you're looking to sell a product, or whether you're looking to bring people into your idea and maybe looking for investors so that you can all collaborate and build something together. Even in those situations, right? If you're looking for a partner, you got to feel into who that person is. Logic is great, but you've got to go beyond logic on this one. It's important for you to step into, do we align? How they do business, is that how I do business? Is that how I conduct myself in business? You may want to ask questions, about what have you done in the past? What kind of levels of success have you had? But then also, why are you so inspired or intrigued to come in and do this business or do this work with me? And the reason for all of those is because you want to make sure that you are partnering or working with people who have very similar visions, mission, ideas, and that they conduct themselves in the way that you conduct yourself. If you're very professional and you show up suited, right, for your next sales call, and that's the way you like to do business, that's the brand that you show up in within yourself. Doesn't have to be a business necessarily. It could be how you show up. That's who you are, and that's how you like to do business. If you're partnering with someone, you want to make sure that they're not showing up in sneakers and jeans, right? Because how they show up is also a representation of what it is that you are building. And so if you want to be taken seriously, then you've got to take yourself seriously. And how that is done in business is typically by setting it up where you show up professionally. There's nothing wrong. Listen, when you get there, you can take off your jacket. It's not the end of the world. We live in South Florida. Like, I wear jackets everywhere I go. When I'm going to a conference, when I'm going to a meeting, I want to make sure that I'm showing up professional, because I want to be taken seriously. I want to get past that thought that the person on the other side of the table can possibly have, whether they can trust me, or whether I'm professional, or whether I'm showing up with what I say that I'm going to do, and that I can actually act upon what I say that I'm going to do. So it's creating a level of trust, and it's also creating a level of professionalism, and it's creating a level of respect. Because when people see you as a professional, they respect you. And so going back to being this intuitive entrepreneur is knowing that if something feels off with a transaction, if something feels off with bringing in that person, whether it's an employee, whether it's a partner, you've got to go with your gut. You've got to listen. And I'm not saying that you're not going to make a decision right away, but it is important to be strategic in how you are feeling and why you're feeling that way. So rather than discarding it because you need to fill in that seat, or you've had that position available for too long, or they're coming in with lots of money and they have lots of money and they're just ready to invest with you, there's still several steps and questions that you want to ask, especially when you're not feeling that this is the right match for you. And so with that, the reason why this becomes such a crucial point is because when you're bringing someone into your energy, right, into your field that is not aligned with you, it disrupts the energy. And I know that you've all felt this. Maybe you didn't know how to define it or what this really is, but think about going to a place. Maybe you're at a gathering and somebody walks in and you're like, oh, I can't believe that person's here. Like, I don't want to be around them. Like, somehow I don't like when they're, I don't feel good when they're around, or things that they say, or they're so loud, or they're so chaotic, right? This is you feeling, this is you using your intuition to decipher whether you want to be in that energy or around that person or not. And so typically when you have this feeling, this intuition that something is off, is because the frequency of that person is not aligned with your frequency. It may be a one and done, right? It may be that they're having a bad day or they're coming in with a lot of complaints, but that's not typically who they are. And so I'm always going to invite you to have more conversations with this individual, or have a few more meetings before you actually decide to do business together. And that's where it becomes a little bit muddled, is because we're using technology, like I'm using technology today. We use technology to have a lot of these conversations and to onboard people into your business, or you being onboarded or onboarded into a company. But think about, so much is lost in the translation of energy when we're on a screen, or when we're taking a call, or it's all done by computer and we don't ever get to meet this person. So that's why this conversation today I felt was very important for us, is because now more than ever, you need, right? But it's important to open yourself to be more intuitive when you're having these sorts of conversations and really wanting to bring people close into your business. Remember, business is an exchange of money, exchange of wealth, exchange of ideas, exchange of energy, emotions, family, right? Because ultimately you become close with your employees, or you become close with their families if you guys do outings or you have corporate functions. So you want to make sure that you are bringing people in that are not making you feel like they're off energetically, but that you're also not feeling like you have to work so hard to be in their energy, in their space, connected to them, or having a conversation and growing a business and scaling with someone that feels and has always felt misaligned from you. I know that sometimes we are looking at what makes sense, right? We're in our mind of what makes sense. But with that, I'm gonna invite you to go a little bit deeper. It's okay, makes sense. This is logical, right? This is great. However, how do I feel about onboarding this person, or working with this person, or doing business with this person? And not to, I'm gonna invite you to be more aware and conscious, to not ignore that little voice inside of you that is telling you, no, like, no, I'm not feeling like we really should interview more people, or we really should have conversations with more people before making this decision, this big decision for our business. So with that, I'm going to leave you here today. Remember to be kind to yourself. Don't overextend yourself. It's important that if you're being nudged internally, that inner voice is telling you, no, red flag, like, no. Pay more attention to yourself. Don't ignore the signs. Don't ignore your intuition. Don't ignore your heart and what you're feeling. Instead, be better at expanding that and opening up yourself to feel as you're thinking. I'm not telling you not to think. I'm just saying add how you feel about pursuing this transaction with this person, or elevating yourself into this business. And so being the intuitive entrepreneur just helps you to scale and to become better than you've been up to this point. It's an add-on It's never going to take away from you to feel into the situation and be that powerful, awesome, intuitive entrepreneur that you know you can be. With that, I'll leave you today and hope to see you soon on the next one.